Hello, everyone, and welcome to the finals of the Season 1 Invitational Weekend here from Roanoke, Virginia. Cedric Phillips and Craig Krempels, we are here in the booth to watch Daniel Fournier play Grixis Death Shadow, your number 6 overall seed, against Brian Coval, who's been on the draw all weekend long here in the top 8, playing Death and Taxes.
Yeah, somehow it hasn't mattered.
He is 6-0 through the elimination rounds, 3-0 through the quarterfinals, 3-0 through the semifinals, and he's going to try to break serve yet again here in the finals. Daniel's going to start things off at 16 by cycling not 1 but 2 copies of Street Wraith, and now he'll have a better handle on what his opening hand actually is.
Yeah, I mean, that's just unfair, right? Starting the game at 16 life?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with unfair.
Just every time I see this, every single time, it just seems so entertaining to me.
I love it.
The idea of if your opponent sat down and was like, hey, I'm going to start at 15 and you can still start at 20, in this matchup, you have to be like, no, that's too unfair.
No, please no. Please no. Keep all your life. Thank you. Let's actually make it 13 here, folks. Now that a Pluto Delta has found a watery grave, perhaps we'll see a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition of Kozilek from Daniel. He is a deck that does have 4 copies of Thoughtseize, but he's going to go with a Serum Vision. So he'll draw a card, picked up a copy of Stubborn Denial. He will scry 2. We'll see where these cards do go. And then that'll be at first turn.
Yeah, only 4 cards in his graveyard. Scryed 2 of those cards in his library.
No big deal.
Got himself down to 13.
Yeah.
Successful.
The build of his deck is a little bit different from some other Grixis Death Shadow builds. You're going to find 1 main deck copy of Rise Fall along with 2 copies of Liliana of the Veil. For Brian, he is going to play a Horizon Canopy, fall down to 19, which isn't quite 13, and play a Weathered Wayfarer.
Trying to keep up.
Yeah, the race is certainly on. And again, there's going to be a lot of parallels that I draw here between Legacy and Modern. You know, I take a look at Daniel, and it feels like right now it feels like he's playing a Legacy deck. He's seeing all these cards. He's using cantrips. You know, he can play his Death Shadow on turn 2. He's already 11. Everything is rocking and rolling, and Brian just went plains, essentially, white creature, go.
Yeah, not just a white creature, a 1/1 white creature.
Yep, that's it. And that's what Death and Taxes would do in Legacy. They go, all right, cool, you brainstormed everything. I'll play a Mother of Runes. Go. I don't really care. Here's a Thoughtseize. Excuse me, Inquisition of Kozilek. I take it back. All the same, though, it is a discard spell. You see Blade Splicers, plural. There's 2 of them, along with a Phyrexian Revoker, Leonin Arbiter, and another Horizon Canopy here for Brian.
And this is one of those hands where the Blade Splicer is making multiple threats, gives him a little offense, a little defense. We're talking about how much Daniel's dealing damage to himself, so he can't get overly aggressive trying to attack through the opponent and then just take a whole bunch of damage on the swing back.
Death Shadow is going to come down. It's a 4/4 on the second turn of the game, and it's only going to get larger as we go. For Brian, he'll draw a card, and he's going to go farming. Going to activate the Weathered Wayfarer, fall down to 18 to do it. We'll see what land he wants to search up. He's just going to go with the basic plains. Path to Exile, perhaps? No, he's drawn an Aether Vial, which is a little late to the party, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's still happy with that draw there.
Clearly, he's willing to take a hit here from the Death Shadow.
Yeah, the avatar isn't too big yet. This is definitely the time to be taking hits from it.
Yet is the right thing to say.
Yep.
Because it does not take long. And you see the Blood Crypt here in Daniel's hand, so it looks like it's only going to get bigger. He will start with a Thought Scour targeting himself. So Bloodstained Mire and Stubborn Denial will go to the graveyard, and a new card will go to hand. It looks like it's another copy of Thought Scour. Here's a Blood Crypt untapped. Daniel will fall down to 7. And that means he's going to get in there for 6. And he'll simply pass the turn back with Terminate and Stubborn Denial at the ready. Vial will climb up to 1. Coval will go to 12.
How big do you like your 1-mana creatures?
Yeah, I like Weathered Wayfarer.
1/1?
Mine searches for lands. What does yours do? Another Canopy. Let's see what we have here. It's going to be a Blade Splicer. Now, one of the advantages that Brian does get in this matchup, if you think of a card like Stubborn Denial, it's going to counter a lot of spells, but it does not counter creatures.
Yep.
You take a look at the spells column for Brian's deck. There are 4 vials, 4 paths. That's it. Oh, Weathered Wayfarer feeling it.
Yep, getting a little frisky.
Yeah. Making the old Death Shadow a little bit more upset. This is the Thought Scour. Fatal Push. Death Shadow will go to the graveyard. Pluto Delta will go to hand here for Daniel.
Look at that graveyard on turn 3.
Huge.
Look at how many cards he's looked at this game already.
Fatal Push will take care of the Golem. Daniel will untap. Picked up another polluted Delta. He'll sacrifice this Delta. He's going to go down to 3, I think.
Yeah, if he can get this 1/1 out of the way,
he just wins immediately.
He closes out the game on turn 4.
Perhaps Weather Wayfarer should have stayed home. Not only that, Weather Wayfarer Delta damage to make that a bigger Death Shadow, and it's 1 less blocker. And here's attack, and that is going to do it. Daniel Fournier is going to win game number 1 here very quickly over Brian Coval. Grixis Death Shadow flexing its muscles here against Death and Taxes. Just that easy. But it's funny, right? Because that Weather Wayfarer attack may have seemed totally fine.
Yeah.
You know, I can get a little. What's 1 point of damage?
Well, also, he does have to kill his opponent at some point.
At some point he does. So what is 1 point of damage? Is it really that big of a deal? In the grand scheme of things, the answer is yes. And also, Brian made 2 blockers.
Yep.
With Blade, Splicer, and the Golem that it brings along. Fatal Push 1, terminate the other. Let's head to the second game. Daniel making it look easy.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how this is a really good matchup for Death and Taxes. You know, that's the impression around the room when we go and talk to people. Just having watched this match a little bit here and there, it seems like it favors Death and Taxes, but the Death Shadow deck is the best deck in the format for a reason. It still just does ridiculous things like that, closing out the game with a 10-10 on turn 4.
Well, that game, Death Shadow played like a Legacy deck.
Yes.
It saw a ton of cards, did a lot of cantripping, played multiple spells that were cheap, 1 and 2 mana spells, had a 1 mana 10-10 like you mentioned, and that was that. And Brian's deck looked anything but a Legacy deck that go around. So you see these players shuffling up here for game number 2. They'll be underway here in just a moment. Let's talk to StarCityGames.com weekly sale here one last time this weekend, folks. We don't want you to miss it. You can save 15% off select Modern cards here for a couple more hours. We're talking Damnation, Polluted Delta, Meddling Mage, and the very powerful Lightning Bolt. It's going to end at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time tomorrow morning. New sale for you at 11 a.m. tomorrow on the East Coast time as well. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sale for more information about that. As we get ready here for game number 2 between Daniel and Brian.
Oh, they're quick with the sideboarding here. Just
no boarding. No boarding.
Oh, of course.
No boarding. Game 2.
My mistake.
That's okay.
My mistake. So used to the sideboarding.
Yeah. Best 3 out of 5. They'll get the board after this game. And if things go the way Brian wants them to, he'll be sideboarding with a victory underneath his belt.
Of course.
Daniel, a lot of confidence here with his opening hand, as you can see. Really super happy with his 7 cards.
The poker face going on here, yeah. Can't get a read on him, man.
Looks like Brian has very quickly kept his 7. That's funny, that first game, you know, that Wayfarer attack might not seem like much. It might not seem like much, but it was enough to make Death Shadow just big enough to make it so that Brian lost instead of playing more turns.
Yeah, I mean, I think Daniel's going to close out that game in a turn or 2, even if the Wayfarer had stayed back. Daniel's creature was just so big. Brian gets put in the abyss, just blocking every turn.
Yeah. He was going to be in a tough spot, I think, regardless. So, as Daniel's going to take a mulligan here, we talked about the money that's on the line at the top of the round. We also want to talk about the other things because there's a lot on the line here as well for the winner of this match. Winner's going to get an invitation to the Pro Tour. They're going to get buys and free entry to all of our Opens in Season 2, along with free entry to all of our Classics in Season 2 as well. And we cannot forget about their likeness on a token, of course, that personalized token. We've seen that Jacob Baugh energy token running around, that Liam Lonergan Elv token, and unfortunately for Craig, the Max McVitie Clue token.
I have no hard feelings.
Of course, of course. So we'll see whoever wins this one, what they'd like to be.
I've been telling you all weekend how much I like our new opening.
Yeah, that's really well done.
The Max McVitie Clue token and the colors and the smoke, and really impressive. Yeah. Obviously, I wish it was me.
Of course, of course. But it's not.
But it's not. Still happy that it's so impressive.
Brian's going to keep his opening hand here. You see Tectonic Edge and Ether Vial is where he's going to start. That means discard spells are not going to be as good. 2 Blade Splicers. That Weathered Wayfarer is back. Looks like Athalia's hiding in there as well. And a Thoughtseize here from Daniel is going to bring him down to 15. Fetch land into Blood Crypt into Thoughtseize, an opening we see plenty of times in Modern. But what card does he want to take?
Yeah, I mean, with no white sources, this Weathered Wayfarer is not a big issue right now. Daniel might just want to take the Thalia because it's the biggest thorn in his side as the game moves forward. Or if he's thinking mid-game to long game, he might just make him discard one of the Blade Splicers here.
It is an interesting decision because right now the Thalia, not much of an issue, as you mentioned, but if White Source comes off the top, just cast that Thalia, then it becomes a real issue.
Yep.
So this is a tough decision here for the Grixis Death Shadow player. And he is going to go with the Thalia. Let's go over to Brian Coval. We'll draw a card. He did not draw a land, but his Vial is up to 1. Thoughtseize is the draw here for Daniel. He'll play an island. This is a Thought Scour. Terminate. Risefall will go to the graveyard. Snapcaster Mage going to go to the hand. Is there a big Delve creature to cast just yet? That answers that question. Here's Tasigur. Looking like a legacy deck.
Yeah, just turn 1, discard your best card. Turn 2, play my 4/5.
Weathered Wayfarer is going to slide through the Vial. And now here is Thalia. Going to main phase that. Not going to get too tricky with the 2/1. Make it so the spells will cost a little bit more. This will be a Thoughtseize targeting Brian Coval.
Ooh.
Oh, Blade Splicer flooded.
Just rolling on quads.
Okay. Okay. Interesting hand. Yeah, and Tasigur's going to hang steady. His Vial's going to tick up to 3. We're going to find out just how good Blade Splicer is here in just a moment. And more than anything, this shows the power of being on the play.
Yep.
For Brian, and this shows the power of Aether Vial, because if that were not there...
Yeah, I mean, he kept this one-lander for a reason.
He kept Vial for a reason. There's Ghost Quarter.
And he's on the play, so he's able to slide in that Aether Vial under any potential discard or counter spells.
Now, what's interesting to me there that turn, Craig, the use of Ghost Quarter. I'll tell you why. He could have played Ghost Quarter, targeted his Tectonic Edge.
Sure.
Get himself a basic Plains. He has 1 land less than the opponent.
Start activating the Wayfarer.
Start activating the Wayfarer. Instead, he went after Daniel and his Blood Crypt. Now, there are no basic mountains in Daniel's deck. He's got an island and a swamp as far as basics are concerned. But that adds cards to the graveyard for Gurmag Angler, so it's a little risky doing that.
Sure.
Brian just going to Vial in a Blade Splicer and pass the turn back. Stubborn Denial the draw here for Daniel. And he'll pass the turn back. How about another Blade Splicer? Never mind.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Wow. Wow.
That is not what I was expecting.
Wow. That was a fast concession.
Yeah, I mean, well, Daniel's so far behind there. Like, he cannot ever block that Mirror Crusader. He can get a Snapcaster Mage in front of it.
Yeah, for a temporary.
For a temporary thing, but
yep.
he's so far behind at that point. He had dealt himself damage. You know, he said, what's the point?
I'm taking a look at the deck list. For those wondering at home, there's no Lightning Bolts here. That's something we talked about during the pregame show in the early stages of this tournament. Lightning Bolt is basically a card that's out of the format because of Death Shadow. So that's what makes Mirror Crusader so good, is that these Death Shadow decks don't really have a very good answer to the card. So if you take a look at the deck list, Terminates, nope. Risefall, obviously not. Liliana of the Veil, well, not so much.
It's tough to get that one.
Yeah, in that particular game. So the Mirror Crusader is the check mark there, and that's why you saw the very hasty concession. I thought we might play another turn or two, but Brian, Aether Vial, gonna tie it up. Get ready for game 3.
I've had enough, sir. I have had enough.
Hey, if you're beat, you're beat. Save the mental energy. Let's get ready for game 3, and that's what we're going to do. And we'll start that by taking a look at the sideboards. We'll start with Daniel Fournier, who's got 3 Ceremonious Rejection, 3 Leyline of the Void, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Izzet Staticaster, 2 Stubborn Denial, a Disdainful Stroke, another copy of Liliana of the Veil to go with the 2 in the main deck, and a card that I think almost certainly is coming in Kozilek's Return.
Yeah, the all-star here is the Kozilek's Return. It's a colorless spell, so it is able to deal with, these Mirror Crusaders. There's not a whole lot of creatures coming out of the opposing deck that have more than 2 toughness. Just looking at some golems and some angels, 1 Sarah Avenger. So that's definitely coming in. I like the Izzet Staticasters. There's enough 1 toughness creatures on the other side that you want to get off the board. You don't want to leave them around for very long. So I see those coming in. Potentially the Collective Brutality as well. Just as a removal spell. The discard aspect of that card is not great.
Just -2/-2.
Yeah.
More than that? Okay. Well, you're not going to get much better than that, so I can agree with you there. For Brian's side of things, 4 Relic Progenitus, 3 Stony Silence, 2 Burrington Forge Tender, 2 Dusk Dawn, 2 Sunlance, a Grafdigger's Cage, and the I guess that Mirror Crusader can come in.
It might be good.
I guess.
Yeah, here the question is, how much does Brian like Relic of Progenitus in this matchup? We've seen the Graveyard Hate be very good against these Grixis Death Shadow decks, but this is almost like a burn deck to me, where you need a certain density of creatures in order for the deck to be very effective.
Okay.
So you don't want to sideboard out too many of the cards and bring in too many non-cards, so to speak. You know, too many of these sideboard cards. Because I like the Mirror Crusader. I can see the Duskdawns coming in this matchup, and then the Relic of Progenitus is also fairly appealing, but 4 is a lot of relics to be bringing in.
Yeah, I don't think you want the full amount. I think you want some number, but you don't want to load up too much because it's not the end-all, be-all against them.
Yeah.
It is good, but it's not crazy good.
Sure.
I guess I'll say that for lack of a better term. Well, Brian is going to step away from the table. You all saw that, and Daniel's going to finish sideboarding. So while these two players get ready for game number 3 of what should be a relatively quick match, all things considered, we want to talk about Grand Prix Washington, D.C. We unveiled the details for that tournament that's going to be taking place in the nation's capital over Labor Day weekend on Friday. And for those of you who missed it, you can learn more about that tournament, which we hope to see each of you at right now.
On September 1st through the 3rd, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Washington, D.C. Register by Sunday, August 6th for the standard format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Hour of Devastation. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Hour of Devastation playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim an Hour of Devastation playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander on-demand events and take home a Commander vs. playmat and Ultimate Guard Boulder deck case. Want to play on Magic's grandest stage? Compete in the Pro Tour qualifier on Sunday and receive a Progenitus foil promo just for playing, plus the chance for an invitation to Pro Tour rivals of Ixalan in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Washington, D.C.'s many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprankle and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Rob Alexander. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Washington, D.C. today.
September 1st through the 3rd, Grand Prix Washington, D.C. over the Labor Day weekend in your nation's capital. Hopefully we will see each and every single one of you there. I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll see you there for sure.
I'll be there. I'm going to go play in that tournament, and then on September 4th, I'm going to go run a 5K in Washington, D.C.
How you feeling?
I got some more work to do, but I'm excited. I'm excited to do it. I'm going to be doing it with my good friend Alex Macheton and a couple other people. Should be a lot of fun. I guess D.C. has a 5K on Labor Day. That's like a yearly thing out there.
Sure.
So I've been kind of getting into running recently, and it's kind of fun, even though it's super hard. And so that's like kind of my that's like my big goal for the year is to run my first 5K.
Okay.
So this is exciting stuff.
Yeah, and that's a fine goal to have.
Yeah, not win like the Grand Prix or like do better than 10 and 5 or anything like that because I'm not capable of that.
I was about to say that's just impossible.
That's my sweet spot.
Yeah.
10-5, no 1 pro point, no cash. Bang. That's my home.
Well, I feel like you've crested. Like that's the peak.
Oh, am I only going to go down now?
Well, I mean, ride the peak as long as you can.
Okay, all right.
10-5, 10-5,
10-5, 10-5,
you know,
nice.
Found it, dialed in.
I figure if I just get 1 point at every GP, eventually I'll be Hall of Fame eligible. And then people will look at my results and go, well, he was consistent.
Yeah.
He was consistent on the Grand Prix level.
Yep.
Of always getting 1 point at every GP you played. What if I told you, Craig, that every GP you played, you'd always get 1 pro point and nothing else? That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You've sold me, sir.
That's pretty good.
Just Cedric Phillips with the hard sell.
I don't have to show up. They're just like, take your point, stay home. Done. Done. And I get an Hour of Devastation playmat and a Progenitus, so I'm basically rich.
That was a sweet playmat.
That playmat is very sweet. Looks like Daniel might be taking a mulligan here. And Brian did keep. Now remember, talked to Brian before the match should begin. Don't know Brian very well, player from the Pittsburgh area, but he basically said, this is the matchup I want to play against. This is the reason I played the deck. This is the reason to play the deck. Game 2 certainly looked that way.
Yep.
Game 1, maybe not so much.
Yeah, just rolling on one land with an either vial.
Good
That's enough.
And for the build that Daniel has, he has no copies of Kolaghan's Command, so he can't kill a vial. That card not being in the deck is a little bit interesting to me. It's a very powerful card, obviously.
Yeah, but it's 3 mana. So it's definitely on the expensive side.
Well, he feels that Liliana Veils is the better 3-mana card.
Sure.
Which, maybe yes, maybe. I mean, he's in the finals, so probably.
Well, Liliana is very strong in the mirror.
Very true. Very true.
It eats all the fatties, and then it gobbles up their hand. So it's harder for them to get to the 5 or 6 mana that they need to Snapcaster Mage, flashback the Kolaghan's Command, which is the powerful thing the other decks are trying to do.
So what's interesting here, and you're going to see this play from Daniel, he's found a hand he's happy with, and we're underway here in game number 3. He just played a fetch land in Bloodstained Mire and passed the turn back, and then on turn number 1, Brian tried to play Vial again, a card that won him game number 2. And he got countered by Stubborn Denial. Now you think of Stubborn Denial, again, a card that does not have a lot of targets.
Yep, we're talking about either Vials, Path to Exile, potentially Duskdawns out of the board.
That's it.
Yeah.
But maybe it is so powerful on the play to counter a Vial, because we saw what Vial did in game number 2, that it's worth it to have it. At least Daniel might feel that way about some number of that card, as it took care of the Vial.
Yeah, like you said, on the play, it's possible that he kept some of these in. Next game, if he's on the draw, we might see them all come out.
Here's another Vial. And now he'll go to a Relic of Progenitus. Relic will work, he'll target him. There goes the Bloodstained Mire, and we're going to head back Daniel's way. Daniel had a Terminate at the ready. He took some damage, of course, to be able to leave that up, but his deck wants to do that anyway.
And this is an interesting situation where Brian, things lined up really well for him. Like countering the Vial on one, well, he had another one, so he's okay with that. That's just Daniel down a card. He's taxing the opponent's graveyard right now. So he's kind of going at him from a lot of directions.
This is what Death and Taxes likes to do. Here's Thalia. Going to make it even more difficult as the walls start to cave in a little bit here. Here's an activation of Relic. It looks like Daniel's going to sacrifice a fetch land in response to the Relic. See what land he wants to search up. He'll go with a Steam Vents, and now he'll lose a Scalding Tarn.
Sure, so he was interested in keeping that Stubborn Denial around in the graveyard, at least for one more turn.
When a Thalia does resolve, however, Snapcastering a Stubborn Denial is pretty tough.
Yeah, it's starting to get expensive. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just let the Stubborn Denial get eaten there. I just can't see it having a whole lot of value in the game moving forward.
Fatal Push will take care of Thalia. And now Fournier is going to pass the turn back over to Brian, who's going to bring that Vial up to 2, untap that Relic, and he will draw a card. He'll activate a Relic. Small thing we notice in the booth sometimes, but you know, he's kept a die on top of his deck to make sure he doesn't miss with Vial. The die now not on top of the deck.
I bet it'll get back there by the time his turn rolls back around.
I would assume as much. As here's a Blade Splicer. That's going to resolve, and Gullum will enter the battlefield, and we're going to head back over to Daniel. And dies back on top of the deck. There you go.
And one of the reasons this Blade Splicer is so good, the more threatening card here is the Golem, but leaving the Blade Splicer on the board leaves a great blink target.
Very true. Flicker Wisp and Restoration Angel.
Yep.
Assuming those cards are still in after sideboard. Snapcaster Mage plus Fatal Push will take care of that 3/3 Golem that does have first strike, thanks to the Blade Splicer that's on the battlefield. So now it's just a 1/1 against a 2/1. And there is that Vial on 2, which could put anything on the battlefield.
Yeah, it could change things real quick.
You see Daniel's hand. There is a Terminate in there. We know that. Looks like there's another copy of Snapcaster Mage, too. And he's going to come in here with Snapcaster Mage. Brian, no interest in blocking at all. Going to fall down to 18.
Now he has plans for that Blade Splicer.
Here's a Vial activation. In comes Leonin Arbiter. Going to make sacrificing that Scalding Tarn a little more difficult. Vial up to 3. Brian will draw a card. Tectonic Edge will go after, it looks like, Blood Crypt.
Yeah, there's very few red sources in this deck. So you only need to destroy 3 of them. And Daniel's just going to be dry on red sources.
You take a look here. He's got a Steam Vents, 2 Blood Crypts. That's it. Wow. Now there's Leon and Arbiter.
So he used the mana floated from the Blood Crypt and one other to turn off the Leon and Arbiter until end of turn.
Got it. Relic activation will take care of Blood Crypt. Let's see what comes next. Thraben Inspector. Gonna bring a clue along with it. Now Daniel has paid, as you mentioned, for the Leon and Arbiter, so he'll sacrifice his Scalding Tarn and he'll go dig up a land. There's Blood Crypt.
Yeah, and the scary thing for Dan now is the potential of a Flicker Wisp coming down, or another Blade Splicer just improving this board by a lot. And you can see why this Death and Taxes deck can line up pretty well against the Grixis decks. You know, eating their graveyard, just 1 card a turn, 1 card a turn, 1 card a turn, makes the Snapcaster Mage so much worse. All of the Delve Fatties don't have a chance of being cast. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, we got Rise Fall here, and it's going to be Fall. That's kind of your Himatorak-esque spell. This is a Flicker Wisp that's going to target Blade Splicer, and that's going to work. Path to Exile is the card that Brian's going to have to discard. Blade Splicer will come back on the end step, and that'll bring a 3/3 Golem along with it. And now all Daniel can do is pass the turn back. So there is the 3/3 Golem. And now Brian is untapping. Vial will probably stay on 3. It's a good spot to have it for his deck. And an attack here is pretty even Thraben Inspector.
Yeah, everyone wants some here.
Yeah, come on in, little fella. I think the only thing that might hang back is Arbiter, but he's clear for takeoff there.
Yeah, I would definitely just get in here with everyone.
Ah, yeah, it's a lethal attack, actually. If he blocks Arbiter, he ends up taking, 8, and so that's going to do it. Brian Coval is up 2-1 here in the finals of our Season 1 Invitational. Death and Taxes working over Grixis Death Shadow.
Yep.
Vial's good.
Vial is a ridiculous card.
Vial is good. Vial is good. So Vial, what's funny to me about Vial too is the second, third, and fourth one generally pretty bad in most instances. But in that game, like getting the first one countered is like, okay, that's fine. I have another one, thankfully. Resolve that, and it's basically a game-winning card.
Sure.
But a lot of the time when you play the first Vial and it resolves, the last card you want to draw is Vial 2, 3, and 4.
Of course.
So it's so unique in that respect where, you know what? This was one of the times where I'm glad I drew a second one because I resolved it, and it more or less won me the game.
Yeah, and the big reason Vial isn't too good of a card, I mean, maybe it is too good of a card, but you just have to play so many creatures in your deck in order to have either Vial be effective. It's almost similar to playing Collected Company, that you're putting a lot of restrictions on yourself with the way you can build your deck.
It's true.
Can't play the best spells and either Vial.
Yeah, that you can't do. You got to be creature heavy.
Yeah.
But this deck wants to be creature heavy.
Yep.
Because this deck wants to basically turn off Stubborn Denial. It wants to it kind of wants to flood the opponent's removal and make it so that they don't have enough to be able to deal with everything, and that's more or less what happened that game. Once again, as Brian Coval, as I did mention, he's up 2-1. He's got 1 game to go to be an invitational champion here. So we'll find out if Daniel can tie things up or if we're going to crown ourselves a Death and Taxes champion here in Roanoke, Virginia. Before we get to that, however, we do want to talk about the Hour of Devastation pre-release that is happening next weekend. Now select stores have opted to become a part of the SCG pre-release playmats program. So you've seen some of the fun things we've done with playmats, and we want to introduce to you Owl of Devastation.
Say hello to the newest member of the StarCityGames.com pre-release exclusive creature collection, Owl of Devastation. Illustrated by fan favorite Andrea Radak, this disastrous Strix is ready to devastate pre-releases this July. Want to get your hands on this playmat? Find a participating store near you and register today. For more information, visit go.starcitygames.com/pre-release and learn how to unleash your endgame with Owl of Devastation.
On July 8th and the 9th, find a pre-release near you at go.starcitygames.com/pre-release so you can find an Owl of Devastation. Daniel not happy with his hand. He's going to mulligan down to 6, while it looks like Brian Coval is pleased with his opening hand because, truth be told, a lot of his opening hands are going to be totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, just some number of lands and creatures. He's fine navigating the game that way. obviously almost any hand with a land in either vial we'll see him keep. So it would take a whole lot of lands in his opener for him to mulligan.
Got plenty of good hands, and you know, I can tell just kind of the body language here from Brian. Looks like he's been here before in some respects. Doesn't appear to be too nervous, and it appears to me he knows how to play his deck.
Yeah.
I will give him that. Again, kind of an unknown here on the SCG Tour circuit, but he certainly made a name for himself, win or lose this weekend with the decks that he has selected. Remember, Death and Taxes in Modern and Grixis Metalwork Colossus in Standard.
Yeah, some people like big creatures.
Yeah, apparently.
And small creatures.
Some people just like creatures.
Yeah, man.
And Brian's been pretty happy casting them all weekend long, as Daniel's going to take a look at 6 cards, see if he can find a hand that he's happy with. Good enough, as he will scry. That top card will stay on top, and we are underway here in game number 4 of our finals. Scalding Tarn before passing the turn back over to Brian. A Plains and no Vial. Daniel can breathe a sigh of relief, perhaps. Bloodstained Mire is what Daniel will sacrifice. And now here's a Thoughtseize. So down to 15. The hand, Blade Splicer, 2 Thalias, Path to Exile, Flicker Wisp, Ghost Quarter, and Plains. Like we said, he's going to keep most hands.
Yeah, this is a fine hand. There's redundant Thalias here, which is a strong card for the matchup. When the opponent's trying to play all 1 casting cost cards, you turn them into 2 casting cost cards, it really slows them down. Path to Exile to take the first threat out. Blade Splicer with Flicker Wisp to blink it. A lot going on. A lot to like here.
See what card Daniel wants to take. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, my top guess here is the Blade Splicer.
Okay.
You know, taking a Thalia doesn't turn him off of Thalia. Potentially it's the Path to Exile if Daniel can get a fatty onto the board right away.
Yeah, big creature might be okay. Gurmag Angler or Tassiger. Death Shadow too. Looks like he's going to go with Blade Splicer though. So Thoughtseize done resolving. Looks like that'll be it as we head back over to Brian. Brian with the Plains. There's Thalia. Pass the turn back. Back over to Daniel we go. Picked up Polluted Delta.
It's a lot of lands for Daniel so far this game.
It is. But you see the card that's in his hand. Kozilek's Return.
Yep.
And he's going to have to do a lot of posturing to make it good.
Sure.
That's what I think. Because it's his best card in his hand right now. It might be his best card after sideboard, and he needs that to clean them all up.
Well, and he's already mulliganed this game, so he does definitely need to make sure he gets a real quality 3-for-1, maybe 4-for-1 out of that card.
This looks like a reluctant fetch.
Double fetch.
Curious what lands he's going to get. He's got 2 basics, an island, and a swamp.
Yeah, I think he wants the basics in his deck.
Because of the path?
Because of the path, because of Ghost Quarter.
Yeah, there's also that, yeah. Well, so I agree with you. I think he wants the basics. I think he can get 1 basic here, so he'll still have a basic to go get. Because I think that double fetch and then take 4 more, go to 9, play a Tassiger or an Angler, and then just, all right, path and attack you for 2. It's like, okay, what did I even do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little dangerous taking too much damage here. His hand is a little thin. He doesn't have a whole lot of resources to work with right now. So I can definitely see your line.
Because I feel like he just has to do this, which is more or less say, all right, let's work through this Path to Exile.
Yep. That's going to happen, so I got to get the first creature on the board as soon as possible. Hopefully I draw a second creature right away.
There's Path. Yep, you knew that was coming, obviously. So now he's going to go search up the island. Assuming he didn't board it out. Okay. There's the Ghost Quarter.
Yep, a little wasteland action.
That takes care of the Blood Crypt, and more importantly, that takes care of red mana for Daniel Fournier, and he's got a Kozilek's Return in his hand. Now keep in mind, red mana sources, as Craig did mention, there's 1 more Blood Crypt, and there's a Steam Vents. Fatal Push the draw.
And also, he's just down a land for the rest of the game. I mean, that was the danger of searching up a basic last turn when he fetched.
Relic Progenitus should cost 2, I think.
Yep.
There we go. Now there's a Plains. I think we're going to see a Fatal Push here, perhaps. Yep, there's push.
Yeah, I think if Brian had remembered that the Thalia was going to make it cost 2, we would have seen that land before the Relic Progenitus.
Yeah, I think so.
Just in case there was Stubborn Denial still in the deck for Daniel.
Death Shadow the draw. All right. He needed something cheap and easy. He found it.
Yep, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
And you see him sitting on this fetch land so that he doesn't lose another potential red source.
Yeah, pretty important. Relic activation. Yeah, he doesn't want, this is tough because he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to lose that Fatal Push. He's got a Snapcaster Mage in his graveyard. So I think what he wants to do here is search up a red source. I was curious if he wanted to get it untapped or not. Let's see what we have now. There's a Thalia. Horizon Canopy, follow up, Lean and Arbiter. Okay. Another interesting thing about this turn from Fournier's perspective, he could have searched up. He could have searched up Blood Crypt and taken 2, and he chose not to.
Yep.
Draw, Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, there's a card that gets worse as the game goes on.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not a real question here. Does he want to pull the trigger here on the old Kozilek's return? He can start by doing this. That's a 5/5, so that attack's pretty easy.
Yep. Very straightforward there.
He'll pass back. Greedy, greedy, greedy.
It is greedy. I think I like it, though. I think this is a tough matchup. He really needs to maximize every card that he has.
Okay.
And like you said, that's his best card in this matchup.
I think it might be his best card in the 75.
Yes.
In the matchup. I really do. Fatal Push is going to bite the dust. You know, there's also the aspect of, yeah, go ahead and knock me to 4, please and thank you.
Yeah, taking 4 more here, really helping Daniel out.
3 mana. Let's see what the card is. So patient with the Kozilek's return. Remember, it costs 4 right now because of Thalia.
Yeah, if this is a Flicker Wisp, he's really getting paid off for sitting on it.
Yeah, no kidding. He would get it all. Start by sacrificing a Relic of Progenitus. Will Brian, he'll draw a card. Now you can see something's up. Tectonic Edge. Ah, he wants that red source. It's going to float some mana.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a red in the pool.
I'm going to float a little bit.
And now Brian is a little reluctant to put another creature on the board, understandably.
Another Relic. Yeah, well, boom. Kill them all. Kozilek's return, going to take care of everything. Daniel's going to untap. There's an activation, Blood Crypt down. Time to draw. I think he may have picked up a copy of Tassiger. Here's an Inquisition of Kozilek. Let's see the card. It's a Flicker Wisp.
Was a Flicker Wisp.
Yep. In for 9. It's 4 up. Pass the turn back. I need a good draw here. Path to Exile would be a real doozy.
Mirran Crusader.
That would be best possible. Mirror Crusader would be best possible. I got a little stoppage in play here. Curious as to why. I think the Blood Crypt should be exiled, perhaps? Yes. Okay, we're good.
Brian working with 2, potentially 3 draws this turn. He's got the relic he can cash in.
Ooh. Big draw on Path to Exile. That'll take care of Death Shadow. No basics to search up.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yep, activate relic. Yep, there goes the Kozilek's return. We got to get dirty. Snapcaster Mage targeted nothing. Let's go, old buddy.
Come on. Let's cross this finish line.
2. It's 4-2. Tasker in hand.
Poor Tasker just been stranded.
Oh, Tasker, yeah, he's not going to be able to come down. All right. He's going to start by sacrificing a Relic of Progenitus. Draw a card. Yep, let's cash this in too. Draw a card. Mirror Crusader, you anywhere here? What did Brian find? He found a Leonin Arbiter. That'll trade at least.
Maybe.
He's so close, is Brian. Thought Scour is going to turn 2 cards over. Daniel will draw a card from the Thought Scour. He'll draw for the turn. We know Tasker. We don't know the others. He picked up a Death Shadow.
That's a good one.
That is really, really good right now.
Oh, man. He's down to 1 red source left in his deck.
Yep. Do wonder what the card is in Brian's hand. Coming on in.
So I think if Daniel gets to make a trade here, he can deploy both the Tassiger
And the Death Shadow.
and the Death Shadow.
Yeah. He may not want to attack, though. Interesting.
Oh, I think if it allows you to get 2 creatures on the board.
Wow. He'll just pass. I'm a little surprised. There's a Path to Exile.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you think about this?
Oh, man. That is a great attack.
This attack is fantastic.
What do I got? Do I have Restoration Angel?
I don't
Flicker
know.
Wisp?
I don't know.
Blade Splicer?
I don't know.
Definitely
All
got something.
All right, we're trading. Follow up. Blade Splicer. We go back to Daniel. He'll draw. What has he found? Take a look at the cards that have been exiled here. It's Death Shadow. It's a fetch. Is it Staticaster in hand?
It looks like Staticaster.
Okay, we go back to Brian. All Brian can do is pass. He will sacrifice this fetch land. He has 1 red source left. He's going to get it tapped. I thought there was a chance he might go to 1.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to. He has enough to work with. Casting the Staticaster on his main phase is almost the exact same as casting it on the opponent's end step.
It's almost the same. It's not always the same.
True.
And going to 3 going to 3 against this deck when they have Restoration Angel is the same as going to 1.
Well, and the Golem that we're looking at right now.
Mm-hmm. Here's Staticaster. Pew! No resto. Attack. Block. What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? Nothing yet. Draw a card. What did he find?
Oop, redraws.
All right. Oh, Thraben Inspector. Doesn't die to Staticaster either. Draw a card. Hiya. Land.
Oh, man. What a rip.
Daniel will draw. He's got a Street Wraith he can cycle.
Yeah, he has redraws as well here. This is great.
And a Thought Scour. All right, Thought Scour first. 1 is Tassiger, 2 is Thought Scour, 3 is a Polluted Delta.
Gonna need a Fatal Push.
Gonna need a little something here from the old Street Wraith. Cycle down to 1. Draw a card. That's a Thought Seize, I think. He will attack with Death Shadow. Thraben Inspector's going to block it. That is going to do it.
Whoa.
Brian Coval is going to win this match over Daniel Fournier, 3-1. Death in Taxes takes care of Grixis Death Shadow, and it's Brian Coval from Pittsburgh, your Season 1 Invitational Champion. What an awesome 4th game.
And look at him. He's just cool as a cucumber there.
I can't believe it.
Just staring down fatty after fatty. he had it rip